Warning, this video contains flashing lights. After the events which transpired on the night of October 31st, 1986, many residents of Eastridge County now believe the area to be cursed. Regardless of what you believe though, one thing is certain. Never be caught outside past 6 p.m. Hello gorgeous people, what is going on, and welcome back to another video. In today's video, we're going over one of the most highly requested analog horror series on the channel. Dreams of an Insomniac. In this series, we learn about Eastridge County, a place where a ton of people have gone missing and no one knows why. That is, until we learn about the Veldigan, a species of creature with a horrifying appearance and terrifying abilities. We will also be learning about the Lankman Foundation, which is a group of people trying to capture and do research on these Veldigans. But of course, just like most analog horror, not everything is quite as it seems. This series was created by the amazing YouTuber Pastras, whose link to their channel will be at the top of the description down below. Pastras has not only made this analog horror series, but is also a horror analyst just like me, so I definitely highly recommend you go check out Pastras' channel. Also, this video was live streamed beforehand, so throughout the video you might hear me talking to chat here and there during my reaction, but alright, enough of me yapping, let's jump right in. Dreams of an Insomniac, Volume 0, Haunted Halloween PSA. Your name is Tommy Merrick. While visiting your old family home, you stumbled across a strange box of tapes in the attic. Out of curiosity, you decide to watch them on your old CRT. You think they might be haunted. While watching the tapes, you began to see and hear things that weren't meant to be there. For some reason, they felt oddly familiar to you. Dreams of an Insomniac, Volume 0. I was doing so good there reading. I was doing so good. Haunted Halloween PSA. By the way, perfect timing on the text there. Bizarre break-in leaves civilians confused.
Eastridge County were left baffled today at the news of a supposed break-in that happened in the early hours of the morning. The break-in occurred at the local Halloween retail store, Grimzo's, the culprit of this break-in having stolen one thing, and one thing only.
Yeah, so I got to the store early this morning and I see, of course, the door is smashed to a lot of pieces. Obviously I checked inside and all the shelves are everywhere. Everything's smashed up pretty good. Buddy's still there though, so I guess that's good.
He's still there?
The only thing that seemed to be missing was a costume for the world. Don't know who takes just a costume.
This bizarre set of events has left many residents baffled as to what the intentions behind this strange robbery were. No security footage could be collected to reveal the identity of the culprit, leading many to speculate who this mysterious costume thief really is. Were they under the influence? A young teenager desperate to have a costume for an upcoming party? Did this robbery even happen? As of right now, it's anyone's guess.
Oh, if you ask me, this whole story is just a bunch of malarkey. Some kids break in some Halloween shop for a costume. Yeah, no, not even stealing any money. If kids break in there, they're stealing at least some money. It's just another trumped up story for a small newspaper in an uneventful town, when the newspaper company's probably running broke in a few months. I wouldn't trust a single bit of it. Pretty much nothing from that newspaper can be trusted anyway. Oh, to think, they said our small town representative was corrupt. Now,
whether you believe this ridiculous story or not, one thing is certain. Do not trust anyone you see wearing this costume on Halloween night.
Okay, so someone or something broke into this Halloween store, like messed up the whole place, but only stole one costume. There's definitely something weird about that. I have to agree with my skeptic guy here. By the way, I love that he says malarkey. Spooky inmate costume.
Eastridge County has been left in a state of panic and disarray this Halloween night after the disappearances of 6 young children in the area. The disappearances began at 6 o'clock sharp, with reports telling me that they continued through the night until finally coming to a stop exactly 1 hour later.
It all just happened so fast, you know? 1 minute we're having a regular Halloween night, everyone's trick-or-treating like normal, and next thing you know, here comes a mother around the corner who's looking for her kid. So we're all trying to help her out, you know, we're looking up and down the streets for where this kid went, we don't think anything of it. And then another mother comes over and she has the same problem, and then another, and next thing you know, everyone starts to panic, the police are getting involved, nobody knows what's going on, nobody knows where these kids went, and nobody knows who did it.
The names of the missing children are as follows: Jason McDonald, John Thompson, Ashley Wright, William Lewis, Norman Harris, and Sam Wilson. Police have spent the better part of the night searching for both these children as well as the culprit behind this heinous crime. While no one in the local area has been suspected yet, an eyewitness report described the culprit as wearing an orange, striped costume with horns, a tail, and a black mask depicting bright yellow eyes and teeth. It's advised that all residents of Eastridge County avoid anyone seen outside who fits this description.
What a terrifying image.
As well as this, an officer on duty tonight had this to say regarding the matter.
It breaks my heart to hear the horrible tragedy which has come over our town tonight. I promise, not only as an officer on duty, but as a father myself, that these children will be found and the culprit behind these horrible kidnappings will be brought to justice.
Ooh.
As
Nah, you see that? When the image fades away, there's still like another face under it. We'll come back to that.
As police continue to investigate, several mandates have been put forward in order to ensure the safety of Eastridge County residents. It is requested that all residents stay indoors, keep all doors and windows locked, and it is heavily advised to not trust anyone you see wearing this costume.
I definitely will not be trusting anybody that looks like that. Eastridge County Police. On the night of October 6, 1986, these photos were taken by security camera located in the Grimsos retail store, and I can't read fast enough. On the night of October 6, 1986, these photos were taken by security camera located in the Grimsos retail store at exactly 6 a.m. October 6, 1986, lights appeared to turn on by themselves, no other disturbances are apparent. Yeah, it's saying foreign laughter that's when the captions are wrong, which is why YouTube captions are both good and terrible sometimes. Okay, so but what we're looking at is from the same night that they've been talking about, right? Motion was detected within the store. Items appeared to be thrown around and damaged. Wait, what was the time difference between this one and the first picture? 6 minutes. Okay. The other one was at 6 a.m. This one has 6:06 a.m. First contact. These photos, as well as a description from an eyewitness, were the only two pieces of information we had regarding the anomalous entity known as the Eastridge Demon. Until today. I hated that background audio. This seems to be like a sketch that someone made, and then this seems to be like a professional sketch. This is horrifying. This is absolutely terrifying. This right here. Oh my god. That eye being just like a little bit above makes it so much more creepier. Just to be sure, this is like literally the same costume that they were talking about, right? That was taken. What time are we at? 6:36. Is that the same costume? Yeah, right? The demon looks like they enjoy eating tinfoil. They might. I don't want to judge. All right, but let's continue. I'm gonna go back again, and we're gonna go through the whole thing again. Officer Kruger.
After multiple years of extensive mental and physical therapy, Officer Kruger, a surviving victim of the demon, was finally able to inform detectives of the
Okay.
Firstly, the creature appears to be capable of causing both visual and auditory hallucinations to those that are within close proximity to it. This makes it incredibly difficult to locate and contain the creature. As a precaution against this, all ECPD personnel must operate alongside a fellow officer at all times. If
Okay,
you are
makes
alone
sense.
at any point, attempt to locate your nearest fellow officer as quickly as possible. Do not let the demon fool you. Grab a hold of the nearest object you can to discern your surroundings. If you see or hear someone you know nearby, it is not them. Once you have located a fellow officer, vacate the area until the effects of these hallucinations begin to fade away. Secondly, physical contact with a demon is incredibly dangerous. Following his encounter with this creature, Officer Kruger had developed severe physical abnormalities which are still being treated to this day. The most significant of these abnormalities include discoloration of the
Tightening of skin? The fusing of bone and flesh? Teeth growing where they shouldn't. Bleeding from every orifice.
It is imperative that all ECPD personnel attempt to keep a level of distance from the demon at all times. Do not attempt to approach it unless it is absolutely necessary or it has been terminated. In the event that physical contact is made, approach a fellow officer as soon as possible and seek help. Finally, it is important that all ECPD personnel remember that the Eastridge demon is incredibly intelligent and is aware that it is being hunted. It will attempt to mislead you and will look for moments where you are most vulnerable. This creature should be treated as if it were human. Do not let it use its tricks against you. Do not let it touch you. Do not attempt to communicate with it. And above all else, do not trust anyone you encounter wearing this costume.
Okay. This thing is... Beware the Smiling Snatcher. Alright, so he's got a few different nicknames than this thing. The Smiling Snatcher and the Eastridge Demon. This makes sense now, because remember Officer Kruger's face earlier? Like I pointed out how it looked weird. This is probably what his face looked like after he ran into the Eastridge Demon. Is like this like weird... It's still hard to see, but I'd guess that this is what his face looked like after running into it, because it looks similar to what could be like the other image they showed us here. This one. No, the art style here is very, very nice. Very, very nice. I love it a lot. This definitely feels like its own analog horror series with the way it's styled, with even just the colors being used and everything. It very much feels like its own, which I like a lot. Okay, so just to go through what this thing does, it's apparently capable of causing hallucinations when you're close by. So as a precaution, you have to operate alongside another officer, which makes sense. That's a good precaution. So I guess if one of you starts hallucinating, then the other could be like helping you out a bit. Take note of your surroundings. Do not trust anyone you see if you believe yourself to be hallucinating. So I guess you can hallucinate other people, and then physical contact with it is just a whole nother level of terrifying. As we see, the officer here had physical contact and had discoloration of the skin, severe weight loss, tightening of the skin, the fusing of bone and flesh, teeth growing where they're not supposed to or where they shouldn't. This image right here is super uncomfortable. And bleeding from every orifice. Orifice? Orifice? Orifice, right? Orifice? Orifice. Orifice. Hold on, chat. What is an orifice? An opening as of a pipe or tube or one in the body, such as a nostril or anus. Nice. So you bleed from every opening in your body. Wonderful. Great, great, great. Great news. Precautions for this were keep distance between yourself and the demon, only approach if absolutely necessary, seek immediate help in the event of contact. So what's the, like, what would be the solution to taking care of this thing? Like jumping it as a group? I also don't like the fact that they said it's extremely intelligent. Like, how far does that intelligence go? You know what I mean? And the fact that it's aware that it's being hunted, you know, I feel like most analog horror creatures that we've seen are purely like almost like animal based, like they operate. Like they just operate like they're some kind of animal, and then you could try to capture them. But the fact that it's intelligent and it's aware of what's going on, and it has all these abilities, makes it even scarier. What to look out for: the demon will attempt to take advantage of you when you're most vulnerable. Do not attempt to be fooled by the demon's hallucinations. Do not let the demon make physical contact. Do not make any attempt to communicate with the demon. It will steal your voice. I missed that. And then beware the Smiling Snatcher. All right, let's continue, chat. Am I tripping, or was there a face like faded in there just now? EAS emergency alert system. There is a face there. The rules of the season presented by the Lankman Foundation.
As Halloween night begins to set in, all residents of Eastridge County should be reminded that the Smiling Snatcher is out tonight. This monster is very real and threatens the safety of all Eastridge County residents. But don't worry, so long as these 5 simple rules are followed, you have nothing to worry about. Rule number 1. Remember the curfew. No trick-or-treaters should be outside past 6 o'clock p.m. That is when the Smiling Snatcher comes out to play. Rule number 2. Keep all doors and windows in your house locked. That way the Smiling Snatcher cannot come inside. Rule number 3. You do not hear the knocking at your doors or windows. Rule number 4. You do not hear the knocking at your doors. Rule number 4.
Okay.
If you see or hear someone you know outside past curfew, that is not them. That is the Smiling Snatcher wearing their skin. And finally, the most important rule of all. Rule number 5. Do not trust anyone you see wearing this costume.
Wait, it wears skin too? Alright, please get off my screen, you're creeping me out. Okay. Alright, we are going to play out the credits, because respect to everyone that helped work on this. Hey, a lot of notable names in there. Oh, what is that face about? Hello, Marcus from the future here. I realized that on stream, I feel like I didn't do the best job explaining this, so here I am now. Let's go over that entire thing that we just watched, because that was a long video with a ton of information. So I'm just going to try to give you a quick recap and just my thoughts on it overall. So on October 6th of 1986, there's a break-in at a store called Grimzo's. The place is completely messed up. There's a bunch of stuff thrown around, but no money's stolen. Only thing that was missing was a costume. Now, obviously that's incredibly weird. I mean, who breaks into a store and just messes it up and doesn't take anything, and out of all things to take, a costume. Then later that month on Halloween, 6 children go missing. An eyewitness apparently saw a weird person that might have took them, and it seems it was a creature with horns and a tail, and it looks like it was wearing the costume that went missing at Grimzo's. Now at this point, this creature or thing or person is called the Eastridge demon. We then learn about an officer named Kruger who swears to find these children, and well, that does not go well for him. At some point between 1986 and 1989, Officer Kruger makes contact with the Eastridge demon. Whatever happened during this contact with the demon was so bad that he had to undergo physical and mental therapy just so that he could explain what happened during the contact. Now, it's from Kruger's experience that we learn a lot of the details about the abilities of what the Eastridge demon can do. It can cause hallucinations, it is extremely intelligent, it can cause the human body to be deformed if physical contact is made, it can steal your voice, and we learn later in the video, but I'll include it here, it can wear people's skin. Now, Officer Kruger may be alive, but he's been messed up bad. After Kruger made physical contact, his skin was discolored, he had severe weight loss, his skin was tightened, his bone fused to his flesh, he had teeth growing where they shouldn't, and he was bleeding from all orifices. And then after learning all this, we see a poster that says beware of the Smiling Snatcher. So that seems to be another name for this creature. And there's also some text on the screen that you could see. I'll have it replay a few times here. It was really hard for me to even understand what letters were there or whatnot, and I'm not even too sure if it's important, but if you guys think you could see what it says, let me know in the comments down below. The next thing we see is an emergency alert system from the Lankman Foundation, which is talking about the rules of the season, meaning this must be a yearly threat now, which is insane. And it's been 7 years since this thing first appeared. So it's been 7 years and no one's able to stop this thing. Basically, they just have to adapt to work around this creature. Now, these rules for the season include not being out past 6 p.m., locking all doors and windows, ignore knocking at doors or windows, and if you see someone outside past 6 p.m., it's probably the Smiling Snatcher wearing their skin. And then the video ends with the tape appearing to be haunted as a bunch of images start flashing, and then Tommy, who is the character that we're technically experiencing all this as, turns off the TV. Or turns off the tape, but I guess he's watching it on a TV, so he definitely turned off the TV. You know what I mean? He turned it off. He shut the whole thing off. Now, obviously, the Smiling Snatcher, which is what I'm going to call it for the future, this thing is an incredible threat. I mean, how do you stop this thing? It literally can combat anything. It can make you hallucinate, so then boom, you just don't even know where it is, what's real, what's not real. If you actually touch it or get close enough that it touches you, it's basically game over for you, just like Kruger. It can basically mimic people completely by mimicking their voices and wearing their skin. I mean, it's just extremely difficult in how you would even fight this thing. You would have to almost fight it without it even knowing that you're there. Like, I guess if you caught it by surprise, but again, it's extremely intelligent, so that's where I feel like it comes into play. Like, how smart is this thing? Can it be outsmarted, or is it thinking so far ahead that it's almost impossible to stop? I gotta tell you, if I saw that thing, I would run, and that would probably be the most I'd be able to do. But all right, I think I got all the details there, so let's jump into the next one. Dreams of an Insomniac, in loving memory. The description for this one says, after viewing the first tape you found in the attic, you found yourself too afraid to put another in your VCR. Trying to forget about what you saw, you went to bed that night to try and get some much needed rest. But those things you witnessed, those things you heard, they kept you up. The curiosity began to eat away at you, so you went to your CRT late into the night, and despite your fear, you put in another tape. So here we go, this is the second tape.
Well, this whole thing is just a bunch of malarkey. A bunch of kids going into some Halloween store to steal a costume? Yeah, no. If you ask me, this whole thing is just some trumped up news story for some small town...
Alright, cut, come on. You think anyone's gonna believe this? We're trying to make a news story here, man. Come on. What do you mean we're running out of time? Fine. We'll use one of the older cuts.
Dreams of an Insomniac. In loving memory. Yeah, so that was a staged news broadcast? Oh, nah. No. No, Officer Kruger dead. 1956 to 1987.
A feeling of sorrow has hung over Eastridge County this Halloween night after the unfortunate passing of the late Kenneth Kruger. Kruger was a dedicated and passionate officer who always put the people of Eastridge County before himself. He was not only a respected officer, but also a beloved member of our community and a caring father. Kruger's passing occurred late into the night, with officers discovering his body after they had received reports of his son, Klaus, being heard screaming from inside their home. After arriving at the scene of the crime, they found his body hanging inside his son's closet. As well as his body, officers on the scene found this note left on his son's bed.
Oh, please read it to me. Please read it to me.
The disappearances that occurred last year affected Kruger more than any other officer on the case. He was very close to many of the families involved, giving him a sense of responsibility for solving the case. This quickly led to rage, sorrow, and regret, which eventually became too much for him to bear. Nobody was there to listen to Kruger in his time of need, but now we will make sure that his story is told. If you or anyone else you know are suffering from any mental health issues, don't hesitate to call this number and seek help.
You are alone. This place will be your tomb.
Help. Please help me. I just want to die. Why won't you let me die?
Because I still have use for you yet.
That voice is crazy. Wait, that's it? Wait. Hold up. We're gonna let the credits play out. Oh wow, Lyra helped with a lot of this. Shout out Lyra. Okay, now hold up. We gotta go back. There's a few things wrong. Okay, first of all, the news broadcast at the beginning of the last one is like staged. At least what's being said is staged. But what would be the purpose of that? Why would they stage this guy saying like he thinks it's a bunch of malarkey? He's saying that the story is made up to just like boost the newspaper a bit. So basically trying to cover it up almost. But then we find out that Kenneth Kruger died, which there's so many red flags here to begin with. Okay, so apparently he died in 87, which is a year after the Grimsos break-in, or a year after this creature appeared. Wait, let's listen again.
Kruger's passing occurred late into the night, with officers discovering his body after they had received reports of his son, Klaus, being heard screaming from inside their home. After arriving at the scene of the crime, they found his body hanging inside his son's closet.
Now, is that not odd? This is way too hard for me to read, right? Like, it's like somewhat readable, but it's still pretty glitchy. So they're saying that Kruger ended himself because like he was overwhelmed by this case and the fact that these kids were missing and he was so closely connected to the families. But it definitely just sounds weird to begin with. But then we know that that whole thing is a bunch of malarkey. There's no way that that's legit because here we have Kenneth Kruger speaking and apparently he does survive up until 1996. So what did they put in like some fake body double and act like that he died? 87, but instead it's 96. So he survives almost another 10 years. But where is he for 9 years?
Please help me. I just want to die. Why won't you let me die?
Because I still have use for you yet.
I don't know who that voice actor is, but they are cooking. That voice goes crazy. Damn. I could listen to that like 1,000 more times. It sounds so freaking awesome. My guess is that Okay, if there's a company trying to cover this up or maybe like wipe this off the board, my guess would be that Kenneth Kruger got way too close to whatever is really going on here, and then they faked his death and to just get him out of the picture. They made it look like that he died to just get him out of the picture, get him out of the public eye, and then now they just have him somewhere and they're gonna use him for something else. But that would make sense to me. Like if there's some company behind all of these events that's going on. Oh yes, and in the cast, that's a good point. In the cast, it says that voice is the Doctor. So who is the Doctor? The Doctor's got a sick voice. Okay, so one more important detail that I didn't cover was Kruger's letter. Now, it is extremely hard to read in this video, and I could not read any of it for myself. But in the comments, shout out to Mecha1125. This person and Pastras server has come up with what they think is the entire letter, or at least most of it. And Pastra actually liked this comment, which makes me think that they're probably right with what they got. To my dearest son, I know that you may be confused by everything going on here over the last year. It's not fair that you've had to deal with it, and I'm sorry that I can't be the father you need me to be to help you get through this. Truth be told, your old man has had a hard time processing it himself. You spend so long with everything being the same that the moment everything changes, you can't accept it. I might be wrong, but I just can't. I think every day about what I would have done if it were you that were being chased by that thing. Other children. It makes every day. When you grow up, I hope that one day you'll be able to, your own son, deserve to be happy, whose, I'm sorry I won't be able to give you that life, but trust me, it's do or die. Kenneth Kruger. So honestly, according to what might be the cover-up story, this makes sense for what the letter says. But what's interesting is if you actually slow down the video when it shows the letter does actually change for a little bit, and we see that there's a lot more to the end than we thought, which could mean that part of this letter is actually true, but the ending is covered up. So this throws my whole theory for a loop. Could Kruger have actually tried to commit suicide and then somehow failed and was taken by someone else? Or was this just like a farewell letter saying goodbye and that Kruger was going somewhere else and then his disappearance was covered up by his suicide? Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Dreams of an Insomniac. Family photo album. The description reads, looking through the collection of tapes once more, you find a set which seems out of place. They're kept in a separate box with the name Alex Williams crudely written on it with what looks like to be a cheap black marker. Looking inside, you could see that all the tapes within are labeled as being part of a Foundation archive. Curiosity gets the best of you once more, and you put the first tape you find into your VCR. Okay, so I already recognize the name Alex Williams. Alex Williams. The viewing of this tape is meant only for the eyes of authorized Foundation personnel. Unsolicited viewings may lead to termination. Wait, like, as in death? Dreams of an Insomniac. Family photo album. Lankman Foundation? People who made that, like, PSA? On the night of January 6, 1987, the ECPD had received a phone call from a distressed man reporting that a YouTuber cannot read fast enough. On the night of January 6, 1987, the ECPD had received a phone call from a distressed man reporting that something was trying to break into his home. Smiling Snatcher? Upon the dispatcher's arrival, he as well as anyone else who may have been living in the house were reported missing. The only evidence that could be found at the scene of the crime was their photo album, as well as a camcorder which seemingly contains footage of the events which transpired. Okay. Upon opening the photo album, detectives were baffled to find that all the photos within were horribly distorted. This made it incredibly difficult to identify the people depicted. January 6, 1987. Search number 6. Okay, so now we're in January. We're out of October. First night out When detectives questioned neighboring residents about the identity of the family in the photos, none were able to provide any useful information. One resident went as far to say that no family has ever lived in that house. What? It was like what? It was like what? It was like they never existed.
Sammy? Sammy, is that you? I'm right here, Sammy. You're gonna have to help me though, honey. I can't find you. I'm behind you.
Goodbye. While the culprit behind these disappearances remains a mystery, several photos in the album as well as the 911 call made that night suggest that they may not be human. This is the 911 call.
No, I didn't need to get located, but I'm telling you, it's the demon. It took him, and now it's going to take me. Why you keep using his face? Why are you doing this to me?
See the officers showing up?
Hey, Chief. I think I found something.
I love you. The only clear photo of the perpetrator. That deserves claps on its own. Even without context to the rest of the series, that is so good. That was so well done. I think I know what's going on here. In the video, January 6th, 1987, like this search video, the father says, when it says daddy,
I'm right here, Sammy.
the dad replies, I'm right here, Sammy. And one of the kids that went missing is Sam Wilson. Then, later on, when the creature shows up,
Why you keep using his face? Why are you doing this to me?
he says, why do you keep using his face? Why are you doing this to me? And then even when the dad's on the phone with the police, he says like, oh, he took him and now he's gonna take me too. So I'd say this is Sam Wilson's dad. I'm guessing this is the Smiling Snatcher now coming back to take the dad as well. And it's using Sam's face as a way to get to him. And it seems that it may have used hallucinations on him, and that's why he just literally gets up and walks away or walks towards it. That's how I'm thinking about it. And just to like double confirm that this is a Smiling Snatcher, we get the photo of it under like a Halloween like ghost costume, and that was what they used as an example in the 1993 PSA. Yeah, and it takes your skin, so it's like using Sam's skin, I guess, to mess with the dad. That was really well done. I liked that a lot. And even how it just cuts from like the Smiling Snatcher being there with the light, and then now the cops are here. Like, I think that's really good. What's also crazy though is the fact that it how deep does this thing work? Because it messed with the family photos, right? It somehow distorted all the family photos, and then all the neighbors have like no recollection of this family even existing. Is that the Smiling Snatcher doing that? Or is that this foundation that's trying to cover things up, you know, paying people off or doing things to them? Because I don't think we have proof of like the Smiling Snatcher messing with memory, but also we're straight up seeing that it's messing with family photos here too. Either way, incredible stuff. Incredible stuff. Dreams of an Insomniac, Volume 1, Foundation Archive. The description for this one says, after watching the collection of tapes, you knew what you had to do. Late that night, you left your home, hitching a ride with a taxi and making your way towards the place you saw in the tapes. You didn't know what to expect when you arrived there. For all you knew, it may not even be around anymore. The thought of what you might see there terrified you. You filled with a new purpose, you marched toward it regardless. Your driver dropped you off far from your destination, not wanting anything to do with where you were told him you were going. And so you walked. For hours, you walked along a path of dirt and gravel, passing through a part of the county that felt like a ghost town. It had been so long since you stepped foot here, yet everything felt so familiar. The moon loomed high overhead when you finally arrived at your destination, the Lankman's asylum. The place was now boarded up and abandoned, a husk of its former self. You stood in front of the entrance for what felt like eternity. You knew what you had to do there, but you didn't have the strength to do it. Eventually, the dread became too much to bear, so you turned away and got ready to walk all the way back. But then you heard something. A bellowing, calling to you from deeper within the forest. You recognized the creature's call and moved beyond the asylum as you ventured into the forest to meet someone you never thought you'd see again. Okay. Warning, this video contains flashing lights, graphic depictions of violence, and loud noises / jump scares.
My name is Alex Williams. I live on 66 Elk Crescent, Eastridge County, and up until this point, I've worked for the Lankman Foundation, a job which I have quickly come to regret. This is my story.
Okay. Foundation Archive.
I began my work for the Foundation pretty much the day it was founded. After what happened on Halloween, I was put under 24/7 witness protection. They told me that the information I had was too valuable. It felt like I was under constant house arrest. There wasn't a day that they weren't watching me, and it went on like that for years. They gave me my job at the Foundation as a form of protection. A bunch of guys in suits showed up to my house and told me that it would be for the better if I took a job at their new facility. I didn't know much about them at the time. Nobody did, really. All they told me was that they were helping Veldigan victims, but even that felt vague.
Lankman Foundation.
Hello? You don't know me, but I certainly know you. Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Lankman. or at least a cartoon version of the man himself, created by our lovely in-house animator, Mortimer Gray, who you may know for his work on the classic cartoon series Candy Mouse. I come to you all today to announce the founding of the Lankman Foundation, a new gateway into the future of Eastridge County. 4 years ago,
I don't like this thing, guys. I don't like him.
our lovely town was plagued by a species of creature we have come to know as the Veldigan. These dangerous creatures have continued to threaten our residents, with there being seemingly no end to the dangers they pose. Until now, our lovely founder, Herbert Lankman, created our foundation for the purpose of both containing this anomalous threat, as well as treating all those who have been affected by them. How does he plan to do this, you ask? Well, the answer is quite simple. Using the inheritance left behind by his father, Herbert Lankman got to work renovating and reopening the old Lankman's Asylum, repurposing it into a massive treatment center for all those who have fallen victim to the Veldigan. As well as this, he has been hard at work donating generous amounts to Eastridge County's police force, ensuring they can continue to do what they do best, protecting all of you. Here at the Lankman Foundation, we know these last couple of years have been scary, but don't worry. Soon enough, this will all be a thing of the past. If you or anyone you may know have any questions regarding the foundation and what we do, do not hesitate to give us a call.
Apparently we're giving them a call. On the night of April 6, 1990, this phone call was made to the Eastridge County Police Department. This tape acts as the only archive of this call. All of the recordings are to be purged.
Eastridge 911, where is your emergency?
This is 45 Elk Crescent. Send the police, please!
Can you describe the situation to me, ma'am?
There's a group of men trying to break into my house. They're slamming on the door. Please send the police now!
The police will be on their way in a moment, ma'am. I just need you to breathe. Did you get a good look at these men? What did they look like?
I don't know what they look like. They're all wearing masks. I can't see their faces. They look all the same.
What kind of masks, ma'am?
Yellow ones. They're wearing yellow masks. They look like bandages.
Yellow masks that look like bandages.
Hello? Hello? Is anybody there?
Wait, the police hung up? What the...
After I started working at the foundation, they immediately bombarded me and everyone else with all these different mandates and training tapes. Even for the most simple of jobs, there were rules for everything, and half the time they didn't even make sense.
Oh my god, wait, I'm so confused by the mask thing. These look like goggles, no? Or am I overthinking that a little bit? And then it almost looks like they're just like waving.
After I started working at the foundation, they immediately bombarded me and everyone else with all these different mandates and training tapes. Even for the most simple of jobs, there were rules for everything, and half the time they didn't even make sense. Perhaps the strangest mandate they had us commit to, though, was to wear these goggles at all times. They said it was a preventative measure to avoid the effects of some kind of hallucinatory environment. None of us knew what that was or how it was even possible. All they told us was that it would make you see and hear things, and that it was apparently used to keep patients in line. Something about treatment through exposure. We never really knew for sure if it was working, but all the patients seemed to suffer from similar symptoms that were said to be a part of it. They were always scared of us, no matter how much we tried to help them, and they always complained about hearing some kind of horrible music somewhere in the facility. What got to me the most about it, though, was how normal everyone treated it. Something beyond our understanding was being used on these people, and nobody seemed bothered by it but me. They all just treated it like it wasn't even happening.
Here in the Lankman Asylum, it is imperative for all staff members to be aware of our state-of-the-art hallucinatory environment. Through this unique environment, we are able to keep all patients within our walls in line, as well as treat their conditions through exposure that no other location can provide. The amount of benefits this new technology can provide for the patients of our asylum is numerous, but you must remember that there are multiple precautions which have been put in place to ensure that you, our staff, do not suffer from the effects of our hallucinatory environment and can do your job correctly and safely. The first of these precautions should have been provided to you on your first day at the job, in the form of these specialized optical lenses. By wearing these red lenses, staff members will be able to see past the environment's effects, allowing for no mistakes to be made and a job well done. If at any point these lenses are to be removed, staff members will experience severe hallucinations which will make your work extremely difficult. The second of these precautions comes in the form of knowing what you should and should not be hearing when on the job. Although we have yet to develop a solution for auditory hallucinations, symptoms of them appear to follow a similar and predictable pattern. If you believe yourself to be hallucinating, ask yourself if you're hearing the voices of people that do not exist, distant music coming from an unknown location, Dr. Lankman requesting your aid, or the knocking of doors which do not exist. If the answer to any of these questions is yes, then you are hallucinating and should treat those sounds as if they do not exist. Moving on from our patented hallucinatory experiment, we next must discuss the role of another very important part of our facility. It is imperative that all staff members avoid any form of contact with
The caretakers were possibly the most disturbing part about working in that entire facility. They were these tall, bandaged staff members who were dressed in black from top to bottom. I don't even think I ever saw them outside of their uniform. We were always expressly told never to interact with them for any reason. Apparently their job was just that important. It was with them that I reached my breaking point when working at that damn place. I always saw them going into patients' rooms, taking them to places that I never got to see. I always wondered what they were doing, but I made sure to mind my own business. That is until late one night when I was working at the facility. They had just brought in a new patient, a woman who looked to be in about her 30s. She had no diagnosis, no sign of serious mental illness, and physically she was fine. None of us knew what she was doing there, but like we always did, we just ignored it and minded our own business. That night, though, she starts a ruckus. I think every person in the facility heard it when she started screaming. I was the first one to arrive when I saw what was happening.
Is he talking about, maybe he's talking about the woman that made the 911 call and then got hung up on? That would make sense, right? If that's the same person.
Of those caretakers dragging her out by her arms and legs while she's just kicking and screaming. I couldn't believe what I'd seen. I tried running in to stop them, but one of my coworkers stopped me, looked me in the eyes and said, "It isn't worth it." I was in disbelief. These caretakers were treating Veldigan victims like caged animals, and here we were just standing there and watching. That was when I knew I had to do something about it. I always had my suspicions about the asylum, but seeing how this treatment facility treated its patients, that was the final straw. I went to as many of my coworkers as I could to try and get as much information as possible about the foundation and their shady practices. I wanted to bring these problems to the light, to have the general public know what was really going on in there. But of course, none of them wanted anything to do with me. They just brushed me off and told me that it wasn't worth it, that it would bring more trouble. But I ignored them and I kept trying. When I ran out of staff to talk to, eventually I turned to patients. More specifically, the woman I saw getting attacked that night. I wanted to know where they took her, what they did to her. So I snuck into her room late that night with a camcorder that I brought, and I was able to record an entire interview I had with her, and I was just left with so many questions.
Let's see it.
Please don't hurt me. I promise I'll behave. I don't want to go back.
Listen, I don't want to hurt you, I promise. I'm just here to ask a few questions is all. I'm sorry about what happened to you the other night. It was horrible. I want to try and make sure that doesn't happen again. And it would help a lot if you could answer my questions.
Okay.
Alright, thank you. Okay, so my first question. Why were you brought here? You didn't have any diagnosis, and you don't seem to suffer from any symptoms of Veldigan sickness.
I don't know why I'm here. These men broke into my house. Nobody came to help me. The doctor told me I'm sick, but I don't know what
The doctor.
means. I'm sorry if that doesn't help.
It's okay, don't worry. That helps a lot. You're doing great. Now, my next question. That night when you were attacked here, I know it must be a lot, and I'm sorry to bring it up, but do you know where they took you?
I don't know. He told me I can't tell anybody. I'm sorry, I can't tell you that. He said he would take me back there. And I don't want to go. I don't want to go.
Hey, it's all right. You're not going to go back there, I promise.
Don't make promises you can't keep.
Where it was. Nobody else will know.
They took me to room 66.
What? No, that's not possible. There's only...
It's him!
Just try
He's going to take me back now! Please don't let me take him back!
He isn't going to take
Don't let him take me back! Don't let him take me back!
Wait for a moment, don't...
Just what do you think you're doing?
Everything that happened was just a
That voice goes so crazy. She said room 66, right? Chat, do understand, you guys have pointed out a few times, I am noticing that there is an insane amount of like sixes in all of this. He even said his home address the number was 66. So there's a lot of 66. And apparently, even though he works there, he's not even aware that there is a room 66. Crazy. Yeah, true. That's another thing. The day the costume was stolen was on the 6th. That's another good point. The event occurred in 1986.
Everything that happened was just a blur after that. Those caretakers came into the room and dragged her out before I could even do anything about it. It was the last time I ever saw her. And then they just sent me back to work as if the whole thing never even happened. That in itself was odd, but it was what she said to me that stuck out to me the most. She told me that she was taken to a room 66, which didn't make any sense. The asylum was small, it was only built with 65 rooms in mind, so a 66th room shouldn't be possible. At first I thought maybe she was misremembering things, or she was just misspeaking. I mean, she was clearly stressed out, and the way she was taken there was violent, but that just didn't explain things for me. I still didn't know where the patients were being taken, and what if she was telling the truth? I tried to look for answers to that question for a while, and nothing came of it. Nothing until I started to watch through our old conversations. During one of my watch-throughs, I saw something off the corner of my eye. Something I had never seen until it was staring me right in the face. A camera. A camera located right in the corner of that room. The asylum didn't have cameras, at least not in the rooms of its patients. If I had known they were watching me the entire time, I never would have staged that interview, and somehow I didn't see it? Something wasn't adding up. I went back to the asylum after that and checked the rooms of several patients. No cameras. I thought that I was losing my mind. I thought for a moment that Maybe I was just seeing things. But then I realized something. Maybe I was. Late one night when no one else was around, I tested something. Something I was afraid to. I removed those goggles they gave us. And when I opened my eyes, everything looked the exact fucking same. Everything started to make sense after that. Who knows what they could have been hiding that we just couldn't see? Cameras, people, rooms. Suddenly, Room 66 was terrifyingly possible, and I was going to find it.
Okay.
I returned to the asylum.
So basically, them asking all the employees to wear those goggles was like a way of manipulating them into hiding things using the hallucinations so that they couldn't see certain things. So I guess they wouldn't be able to see room 66 or so many other things. There could be so many things going on that they just literally can't see because they're wearing these specific glasses that are supposed to keep them safe. So that does make sense. You can't even doubt that you would listen to that, especially if you're messing with, I believe they're called Veldigans, you know, that are like these insane creatures that do all these crazy things. Like if someone told me I'm working in that place and someone told me, yo, you gotta wear these glasses to keep yourself safe, I would be like, all right, cool. If we're messing with something that's beyond my understanding, no problem. Well, they said that it's supposed to keep them safe from other hallucinations going on, but really those goggles could be a part of the hallucinations the whole time.
And I was going to find it. I returned to the asylum later that night with a camcorder in hand. I figured that if it could show me where the cameras were in the corners of the patients' rooms, then it could help me find what I was looking for. I walked up and down the halls of that entire asylum, trying to find anything out of place. And eventually, I found it. I stood in front of that door for what felt like an eternity. A part of me wanted to know what was in there so badly, but another part of me just didn't want to see it. I was terrified, but I felt like I didn't have a choice. It didn't even feel like I was in control of my own body as I pushed that door open.
Looks like someone wandered somewhere they aren't supposed to be.
In that moment, cornered and alone, I finally understood what they were so afraid of. I was finally seeing what they were seeing. For the first time, I saw his face.
We'll go back to that.
After that, I didn't know what to do. I panicked, I couldn't move. And he just stood there for a moment, staring at me. But then he let me go. He just told me to go back to work and act like it didn't happen. Work continued after that. I was too scared to find out what would happen if I didn't come back to the asylum, so I just continued my work there as normal. I was never punished, nobody ever found out. It was like the whole thing never happened. Until recently. The reason I'm recording this tape tonight is because I fear soon you may never hear from me again. For a while, Lankman acted like that night never happened, but ever since the recent incident, things have changed. He and the caretakers have become more aggressive. I've started seeing things. Cars passing me by with tinted windows, people following me off the corner of my eye, staff treating me like I don't even exist. Recently, it feels like they don't want me talking anymore. Someone I know and care about has been hurt, and they've given me a job that doesn't even fit my credentials. They've made me research somebody very dangerous, and I have my suspicions that once I've told them everything they need to know, they won't need me anymore. That's why I'm recording this tape. I've learned things about this person, things that Lankman doesn't even know, things that could help me. After I'm done recording this tape, I'm going to be meeting with that person, and depending on how that goes, you may never hear from me again. If you're watching this, I've left you something important. The last thing my friend was able to provide me with before they got to him. An archive of all the Foundation's most important tapes. It contains everything, every lie they've told, every secret they've kept, every recording I've made. If I don't come back from this, you need to spread that information. The people need to know. I don't want to go about this alone, but as things are, I've had no choice. It just feels good to finally get this off my chest.
Hello? Okay. It's at times like this that I enjoy the shorter videos. Like, sometimes I be complaining, I'm like, damn, analog horror videos are so short sometimes. But then when I get 24 minutes of info dropped on me, I'm like, god damn, where are the short videos? That was a lot, an absolutely insane amount of info. So the Veldigan is what the Smiling Snatcher is. It's considered a Veldigan. From what I'm understanding, and chat, please correct me if I'm wrong about any of this. So the Smiling Snatcher is considered a part of this species called the Veldigan, which are like these nightmare creatures. And I'm guessing that's also what that thing is that we saw at the end, that giant thing with the horns. And then I'm guessing that's what the doctor is as well. The Veldigan is a banger name. I agree. Yeah, so they opened the asylum as a way to contain and protect people that were like affected by the Veldigan. So I guess an example of that would be like if the Smiling Snatcher made physical contact with you and like totally messed up your body, like the asylum would take care of you and try to like make you better. But obviously, according to Alex Williams, that's a whole bunch of malarkey, and they're not actually doing what they're saying they're doing. Like, they're kind of messing with they're kind of messing with these patients and making them worse rather than fixing them. And even going as far as just taking people that have nothing to do with any of this, people that are okay, and then for some reason bringing them to what is patient 66, which is this giant horned creature, which I can't even begin to understand what this thing is, what's the point of it, what it does to people that interact with it. Another thing is that the police is in Lankman's pocket, because they do say like how Lankman is funding the police as a way because, you know, police can protect you from the Veldigan. But then when we see a phone call, we literally see that once we know that it's the Lankman Foundation people that are trying to break into this woman's home, the police hang up. Like they're very much aware of what's going on, and they're totally okay with just letting it happen. Which may be another reason why the officer in the first episode was taken, is because maybe he wasn't okay with just letting that slide, and so they were like, all right, cool, now we're just gonna take you, we're gonna fake your death, and you're gonna stay here in the asylum with us. Because that actually sounds like that's where they took the officer from the first one. He's probably in the asylum. Like if you remember the door slamming sound, the doors sound the same, so he could be an asylum patient for all we know, you know. I'm curious what year this is all taking place in right now, because even that beginning video says like, oh, 4 years ago, so I'm guessing then it would be 1990, because 1986 is when the Smiling Snatcher first appeared. Well, that was Dreams of an Insomniac. So far, at least, because as you can see by the end of that last one, it said to be continued, so there's definitely going to be more. Now, just a couple things I want to point out that I didn't point out on the stream for this video. And big shout out to Alex Williams, because Alex basically carried in explaining a lot of that last video. I didn't speak too much, one, because I was trying to understand and just take in all the info we were getting, and two, because there wasn't really too much to explain. I feel like everything that I said already was what needed to be explained in that last video. But there is two things I want to talk about. One, at the end of the last video, when we see the doctor or Lankman, there's this text that comes up on screen and it says operative technique, the corneal suture and mid are indicated on the scalp, a mark is made 3 centimeters interior to the lateral rim of the orb. Like there's just a lot of like medical terminology, and honestly I tried to look this up to see if this was like some kind of operation or something. I didn't get anything from when I searched it, but if anybody here knows or understands what that is, please let me know in the comments down below. I'm not sure what this is implying, if this is happening to Alex in the series, or if this is happening to the people that they're taking, or what's going on here. So please let me know your thoughts and theories on that down below. And one more other thing, I did read the description for the last video at the beginning of the video before we watched it, but what's said in the description seems to take place after you're watching this tape. I think it's pretty easy to forget in the series, but we're watching all these tapes from the perspective of someone named Tommy Merrick, who found these tapes in their attic. And in that last one, it says after watching the collection of tapes, you knew what to do. You basically get in a taxi and make your way to the asylum, it seems like. Not even sure if it's gonna be there still, because apparently it's been years since those tapes were recorded. Now, it says in the description too, it's been so long since you stepped foot here, yet everything felt so familiar, implying that our character definitely has some kind of deeper ties to everything that's going on here. These tapes weren't just like found randomly in the attic, you know what I mean? And we're told in the description that the Lankman's asylum is abandoned now. So clearly we are missing a giant time gap from when we're viewing these tapes to when these tapes were actually taking place, because now the asylum's closed. So what happened with everyone in the asylum? Are the Veldigans still around? What is going on with all of that? Which I'm sure is going to be explained in future tapes. And then at the end of the description, it says, then you hear something calling you from deep within the forest. You recognize the creature's call and move beyond the asylum as you ventured into the forest to meet someone you never thought you'd see again. Now, who or what this thing is, I don't know, but it does say you recognize the creature's call, so I want to assume it's a Veldigan. Whether it's going to be one that we've seen so far, or if it's going to be a new one that's introduced, who knows? I guess we'll just have to wait and see. But that's what I expect the next video to be, would be Tommy Merrick's perspective of seeing this creature or meeting up with it, unless that's just going to be explained in the description and then we're just going to go into another tape. But honestly, let me know your thoughts and theories in the comments down below, because I'd love to hear them, and you guys sometimes help notice things that I didn't, so please feel free. Now, obviously this series is incredible, and I definitely want to cover more of it in the future. Huge shout out to Pastra. Obviously Pastra has just proven with this that you don't have to just make analog horror. You can also make your own videos and then make an incredible analog horror series on top of that. And it's a big inspiration to me because as someone that's gone over so many series, I would like to make one of my own, whether it's a one-off video or a series. And Pastra has definitely inspired me heavily by doing this. Another thing is the whole style and feel of this series is just amazing. It definitely, when you watch this, you know it's Dreams of an Insomniac. It is not colored the same. The style of everything is so different, and it's just very nice and definitely fits in its own way in the genre. Now, obviously, huge shout out to anybody that worked on this series in any way, especially the voice actors. I mean, the girl in the 911 call in that last video went crazy. That was fire. And the doctor, come on. Oh my goodness. I think I replayed that doctor dialogue like 4 times. But obviously, guys, if you haven't already, the link to Pastras Channel will be at the top of the description down below. Please be sure to go and support your analog horror content creators. And one last thing, guys, before we wrap up today's video, please don't forget to check out Gamer Subs. The link will be in the description down below. Gamer Subs is basically a little flavor powder that you can throw into your water just to make it taste so much better. And there are caffeinated versions and non-caffeinated versions, so whatever you like. And the flavors are incredible. My favorite right now, which I've said to you guys 1,000 times before if you've watched the videos, is Guacamole Gamer Fart 9000. Now, as disgusting as that sounds, I promise you it is like heaven in your mouth. I probably shouldn't have said it that way, but I'm not going to cut that out. Anyways, the link will be in the description down below. Use code Immortal at checkout to get 10% off your entire order. And hopefully we could get our own flavor one day. But alright guys, if you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to drop a like on it. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe. I do videos like this all the time, and we're trying to hit 1 million subscribers before the end of the year. Alright guys, I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.